She wanted my pool, the one I'd spent 18 months building with my own two hands, and she said it with a smile so polite it almost felt like a courtesy, like she was offering me dessert before she took my house too. 30 days to either open it up for the whole neighborhood or pay $500 a day in fines. Yeah, that happened. And no, I didn't fold like some guy who thinks rules only matter when they point at him. My name's Wyatt Fletcher. I'm 52, a civil engineer divorced with two kids who keep me honest. Sienna, 16 and sharp as a tack, and Dean, 14, who watches everything and says almost nothing, the kind of kid who notices when a neighbor's Lexus has been circling the block at 2 in the morning. I bought this place after the divorce because I wanted something that felt like mine, and I poured what I had into that backyard concrete plumbing, late nights pissed-off tile spacers, until it became a proper pool, saltwater kidney-shaped, a 10-foot deep end with a built-in bench, a mosaic of a desert sunset on the floor that catches the light just right when the sun dips. $47,000 and a ridiculous amount of pride. Best thing I built in years. I got the knock 3 days after I filled it. Dolores Pritchard on my porch heels making that familiar annoying click on travertine clipboard like a weapon. Dolores HOA President 5th term retired bank officer. The kind of woman who denied loans for sport praised the workmanship first, which is always the prelude to a sting. Then she handed me a letter and read me Section 7, Paragraph 12 of the CC and RS. If a private amenity costs over $25,000, it must be available for community use. 30 days to submit a schedule or else $500 a day. I laughed because what else do you do when someone tells you to give up your home? Laugh, then call your lawyer. Moore and Voss, sharp as a razor, blinked at the clause. She'd never seen it. The neighborhood Facebook blew up Team Wyatt versus Team Dolores, and I went looking. That's what engineers do when something doesn't make sense. You start pulling threads. Turns out Dolores had rewritten the rule herself in 2018, filed it like it was legitimate without a board vote, without notifying homeowners, basically weaponized paperwork. She'd never enforced it on the Jennings $40,000 pergola or the Chen's koi pond, and she'd recommended her nephew for a pool job 2 months earlier, $78,000 for a job I did for $47,000. I politely declined the nephew. Bad move, apparently. You learn fast when it's your home on the line. My kids asked if she was actually trying to steal our pool. I told them she could try, but I wasn't going to hand over my house because a woman with a clipboard decided she liked rules that suited her. So I started documenting. Time-stamped every letter, photographed every notice, saved emails, the whole 9 yards. Arizona law gives homeowners the right to inspect HOA financials under ARS 33-1805, and you can bet I pulled those records. What I found made my stomach drop. Monthly office supplies billed to the HOA $250 a month, 5 years running for a neighborhood that didn't even have an office. Receipts coded as admin but delivered to Dolores's house, scented candles, a KitchenAid mixer, throw pillows, things that didn't belong in HOA accounting. A $2,400 roof emergency invoice for a clubhouse that is a gazebo with no roof. Ghost companies. Money moved like a magician's sleight of hand. And then I found the unpermitted outdoor kitchen pizza oven and gas line at her house. No permits, no inspections. Unpermitted gas lines in Arizona are a nightmare if the county gets involved. So I did what you do when you find a problem. I reported it. 3 days later, an inspector knocked on Dolores's door, handed her a citation, and left. The neighborhood Facebook turned on her the way a small town turns on any crooked official. Suddenly, the applause meter that had been in Dolores's corner started to wobble. She retaliated, of course. Fines began to pile on me, a parking infraction for being 5 inches from the curb, a mailbox color violation that contradicted my Home Depot receipt, bogus tree maintenance failures, all documented, all targeted. Someone unplugged my pump at night 3 times until I installed a camera aimed right at the outlet. Rock salt in the skimmer. Anonymous complaints to the county health department claiming my private pool was a public health hazard. An inspector named Earl came out and told me my paperwork made more sense than 90% of public pools. He even pointed out that some of the complaints had matching handwriting. The harassment escalated until it wasn't just about fines and Facebook posts. A county code enforcement inspector called to ask if I was running a commercial operation out of my backyard, charging neighbors having memberships. Impossible, but that was the point: bury someone in paperwork until they give up. Morin told me what she's seen in her practice HOAs with infinite patience and other people's money to legal up any fight until the homeowner is bankrupt and tired. She also told me we could win depending on how badly Dolores wanted to humiliate herself first. Here's where the twist comes in when your whole plan is to play chess with someone who thinks checkmate is bribery and backhanded favors. Jim Kowalski, a contractor I'd barely spoken to, knocked on my door one day with a recording. Dolores had approached him and offered to forgive old fines if he convinced others to back off and stopped helping me, basically a payoff to get him to turn on his neighbors. Jim recorded the conversation. Arizona is a one-party consent state. That tape was admissible. He told me he'd had enough because Dolores had fined his wife for hanging a clothesline. He said he'd been waiting for someone to stand up. Jim's simple, steady honesty was the thing that pushed everything from a legal tussle toward a community crusade. I pulled every thread I could: bank statements showing payments to a shell company, invoices for non-existent repairs, meeting minutes that never showed a vote on that crucial paragraph, a pattern of selective enforcement. Dolores had been building herself a private little empire on HOA dues, a petty tyrant with a Cadillac of a scam. We could have gone right to the county and the cops and watched her lawyer up. But public spectacle was the strategy. I wanted her exposed before she could bury evidence. So we opted for a play that looked stupid on the surface but was surgical underneath. I would comply with her demand in the very worst way: drain the pool, publicly, make it a spectacle, draw attention. Make people see what she'd forced me to do, then file a petition to dissolve the board based on material breach of fiduciary duty. Arizona law lets homeowners call a special election if the board operates in material breach. 40% signatures would force it. 74 homes meant 30 signatures. We met quietly. Jim, Gemma, the retired teacher, Shanice and Marcus, a couple of young professionals, the Hoffmans who'd been bullied for beige shutters, and we planned. Drain the pool at peak neighborhood time, get cameras there, make it obvious that Dolores had won, then collect signatures while emotions were hot. If the evidence was good, if the sign-ups piled up, we could force a meeting where everything would be presented publicly: receipts, recordings, invoices, while the media watched. Saturday morning, someone slashed 2 tires on the drainage truck. A white Lexus circled the neighborhood at 2 a.m. Security footage showed it. Vandalism, intimidation. I called the police. They took a report. The truck got to work on the backup truck and the pump roared, gushing 20,000 gallons into the street, the sound of water like a small river carving the concrete. Reporters showed up. Neighbors came out. Dolores arrived late as if to spit on the spectacle. She watched me drain 18 months of sweat into the storm and smiled the same thin smile as if she'd already won. It felt awful standing there watching my pool become a concrete bowl in the sun. That emptiness, tiles, exposed bench grotesquely out of place, felt like losing. But people who'd been on the fence started talking to us. We handed out petitions. We told the truth about the scented candles, and the ghost invoices and signatures came in. When the pool was bare and the cameras gone, we had 45 notarized signatures. We filed Monday morning, clerk stamped, the board had to respond. June 28th came, and with it an emergency meeting packed with neighbors and reporters. I walked in with a projector and a folder. Slide 1, expense reports showing monthly office supplies charged to the HOA, receipts with delivery addresses matching Dolores's house. Slide 2, the roof invoice for a clubhouse that has no roof. Slide 3, recorded bribery. The room went quiet. The clock felt slow. 2 detectives from the County Economic Crimes Unit stepped in, badges on their belts, and asked Dolores to come downtown for questions about financial irregularities. She walked out, pale, shoulders hunched, and never looked back. The vote to dissolve the board passed overwhelmingly. Dolores was later charged with embezzlement. The charges are still moving through the system, but she sold her house and tried to disappear. The new board neighbors who'd been part of the coalition rescinded every bogus fine, refunded families, published transparent budgets, and passed a resolution recognizing my pool as my property. I refilled it the next weekend. We all jumped in fully clothed and laughed until our chests hurt. Here's the thing I learned from the pissing contest turned revolution. Most people don't fight because they think they're alone. They think the system is rigged, or they're too tired, or they can't bear the cost. That's the bully's advantage. But resistance isn't just about winning for yourself, it's about making sure the next person doesn't have to fight the same fight. We opened the pool one day a year for the neighborhood voluntarily and raised $2,400 for local youth sports. Turns out when you invite people instead of forcing them, they show up and they chip in. So, that's the end of my ridiculous, expensive, beautiful story. I lost water for a while, then a tyrant lost her throne. We got our yard back, and more than that, we got our community back. Justice in this case wasn't a court order alone, it was neighbors choosing to look at the receipts. Now I want to hear from you. Has your HOA ever tried to rewrite the rules to fit one person's agenda? What did you do? Drop a comment, tell the story. And if you're in the middle of one of these messes right now, document everything. FOIA, the financials find your allies. Don't be alone because petty power only wins when nobody checks the receipts.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.